أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه ونور عرشه أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعترته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inshallah, in this part, we're looking at sermon number 165 of Nahjul Balagha, sermons of our beloved Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the successor of the Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If you look at sermon 165, Imam Ali alayhi salam talks about, firstly starts off with the creation, the wonderful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says that these are in several categories. They include the living and the lifeless, the stationary and the moving. Then he says that there are living creatures, there are non-living creatures, there are creatures that are non-animate, and there are creatures that are animate. Allah has established such clear proofs for His delicate creative powers and His great might that minds and intellect of humanity bend down, they do sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in acknowledgement and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the proofs of His tawheed that reach to our ears through their creation, through these creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Ali alayhi salam then talks about the birds. He says, how have the birds been created in various different shapes and in various different composition? They've got wings that are different. They've got amazing wings. They've got amazing shapes. They live in burrows of the earth, in the openings of the high passes, on the peaks of mountains. They have different kinds of wings and they have different kinds of characteristics. All of these are controlled by the reign and sovereignty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's authority. There are some birds that flutter their wings in open atmosphere and in the vast skies. They've got different shapes and colors. They have strange external shapes and joints and bones covered with flesh. Allah has actually prevented some of them from flying easily in the sky because of their heavy bodies. And He has allowed them to use their wings close to the ground. So you see the hens and the chicken, they would flutter and they would just rise a little bit above the ground using their wings, but they can't really fly high in the skies like the other birds, like the pigeons, like the crows. They cannot really fly high up in the skies. Allah has given all the birds different colors. Some are tinted with wings, some are tinted with one hue, and others are tinted with one color, with a neck ring of different color than their body tint. So they have different colors. There are some that have the same color throughout the entire body. And there are others that they have a different color on the neck, in the neck ring, just like a necklace. And then they have a different color in their body. So the body tint is different from the color of the neck. And then the sermon 165 talks about, it focuses on the creation of the peacock. And this is really interesting. How symmetrical the dimensions and the arrangements of its hues and colors, in best arrangement with its wings, whose ends are interleaved together, and it has a very long tail. So you see, its wings are interleaved. When it approaches its female, Imam says, it spreads out its folded tail and raises it above to cast a shade over its head, like a sail of a boat, being pulled by the sailor. So you see the sailing boats that you know, how the sails are shown. That's how this peacock has this characteristic of spreading out its tail, which is folded otherwise, but it becomes like a huge shade over its head, and it casts a shade over its head, and it looks like a sail of a boat being pulled by the sailor. And then Imam says the peacock feels very proud of its colors, and it swaggers, it moves with proud movements. It shows in its movements pride, like proud movements, swaggering. And the feathers of the peacock are like sticks made of silver, and the circles and the sun-shaped feathers growing on them to be of pure gold and green emerald pieces. Imam alayhi salam likens it like a bouquet of flowers which is growing on the land and collected every spring, or like clothes that are printed apparels and amazing variety of clothes of Yemen, or like ornaments of gems of different colors with studded silver. The peacock walks with vanity and pride, throws open its tail and its wings, and laughs admiringly its beauty of its dress and hues of its necklace of gems. But, Imam says, when it looks at its legs, it cries out. It cries out with grief because its legs are thin and like the legs of an Indo-Persian crossbreed cock. So Imam is explaining that Allah gives the peacock such beauty and it becomes so proud. But when it comes to, it sees a defect in its legs, it cries out. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this sermon of Imam Ali alayhi salam is giving us a kind of a lesson not to be proud of all the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, of all the natural beauty that Allah has given us. You know, we sometimes put on the mirror this saying, this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma hassin khulqi kama hassanta khalqi. Make my khulq, my adab, my akhlaq such as you have made my beauty. Beautify my akhlaq in the same way as you have beautified my physical beauty. Inshallah, we take lessons from the sermons of Imam Ali alayhi salam into our day-to-day lives, and take, we learn from the various examples that our Imam has given. And in this beautiful example of the peacock and the pride and the beauty of the peacock,